You're listening to Small Business Talk with Jerry. Sit in on great conversations with entrepreneurs who risk everything chasing the American dream.
Hey everybody, we are here with another episode of Small Business Talk with Jerry. I have Craig and Denise with me today. We're going to talk about For Youth. We put a post out a little bit ago that's being recorded tonight, so hopefully in the next few days you'll get to watch this or when you see this. Denise, would you introduce yourself?
Denise Fry, founder of For Youth, and I am an engineer. Worked for IBM for 28 years.
Smartest person in most rooms ever.
Definitely this room.
For sure
question.
in this room.
Yes,
yeah.
Sure.
Combined, you and I combined. Yeah.
We'd be taller.
That's true.
You are taller. I'm a short engineer. Yeah. Worked in development, supply chain, business transformation. And then when my husband and I, we both retired early from the corporate world and started a custom cabinetry business, Fry Designs. And we did that for 8 years until the cabinets got too heavy.
Amen.
And then
you still do it on occasion, right? For kind of like one-off kind of thing?
So interesting, no? You should. Well, I mean, he'll do like small jobs.
Yeah.
So I was actually at Luis's, the granite shop.
Oh, yeah.
And Luis like, hey, do you still make cabinets? Because I have these like granite remnants.
Oh.
And I would love to like just sell them like as like a little table.
Oh.
I think I could talk Craig into that.
Oh, great idea.
So yeah.
Yeah, we had Luis was in today. We worked on his Equinox today. So yeah, he's a good guy. I really like Luis. Yeah. Yeah, but I'm glad we met him.
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah.
And Jennifer.
Yeah, I don't know her. I've only met her once.
She's great. She's shy. She's shy, but she's starting to open up a little bit.
Good.
So it's
good.
Does she work with him?
Yeah, she kind of does kind of some marketing stuff, kind of a little bit of everything for him. I mean, because she has like 3 jobs. So, I mean, she works.
Because she does a cleaning business too, right?
Her mom has a cleaning business, and we're getting off track here.
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, so, but yeah, she's great. So, yeah. But yeah, she has like 3 jobs. But she's kind of does, she's in Thursday's chapter for the granite shop.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, he'll do small jobs for like friends. So Luis is a friend now.
Yeah.
Good.
And,
Yes.
And then our family. We're actually heading out to Seattle at the end of April with some cabinets for our daughter.
Oh, how great would that be?
Yeah.
Dad.
Yep.
Mom.
Yep.
I need cabinets. All right, we're going to make you some really great cabinets that nobody else in this world's going to have.
That's right. Very custom, very wall to wall, floor to ceiling, usually.
Wow.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So then I started working for Care Portal, which I talked about last time.
Yep. I say that's how I met you, was through Care Portal.
Yep.
Did that for 4 years, and it really, I mean, I'm still kind of involved, but not like I was
going to ask if you're still
I still do it from the church perspective, but not from the whole county.
Did somebody kind of take your role in that? No?
Not yet.
Okay. Yeah.
It's going to be hard to fill your shoes.
Goodness gracious. Yeah.
There will be. Absolutely.
It's rewarding, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah. Well, they were lucky to have you for as long as they did. I mean, and
4 years, that's a long time.
Yep, that's a long time.
Yeah, and so it introduced me to the world of generational poverty.
Yeah.
And my heart just went out for the kids because they don't know what life outside of poverty looks like.
Right.
And very few will make it out on their own.
Well, it's not their poor choices that...
No, they don't.
Yeah,
and it's I mean, their parents, same thing. It's just been...
Right.
And so it's really hard, and it's hard to distinguish between helping them and helping them help themselves.
Right. Right.
Because that's
how hard is that to, like, do you get frustrated because you're trying to help, but you can't do it for them, right? I mean, so there's got to be a fine line saying, I can, the old cliche of like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink kind of thing, right? So then you have this opportunity to help whoever, children, families, etc. But if they can't help themselves, that's got to be just incredibly frustrating.
Or are you enabling them?
Yeah. I mean,
that gets into a whole different discussion on the whole, government help. But just some of them are not even motivated to, or they don't know how, and they don't even know what that life looks like. Right. So it's a little scary for them too. Yeah, which is part of it.
Do you find that that's an interesting point that you say is a little scary because they don't know. We talk about this in business all the time. You don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
So this is their life. This is what they know. So change. Nobody likes change, right? So
I do, but I'm odd.
Engineer.
I thrive on change. I thrive on
Oh
change.
okay.
That's part of my bipolar spectrum.
All right, fair enough. Okay, I stand corrected. Denise loves change.
But yes, most people don't.
Yeah, so I've been to try and help them
One
change
out of 3
their
podcasters
lives.
like change.
Yeah,
I can say that today.
That's a statistic. I know I'm not the only one.
But to like you said, to try and to get them to change their whatever it may be, right? Their way they live, the way they think, the way they act. That would be scary for anybody. I mean,
well, and doing something for them can be rewarding, but is it really helping? Because when you stop doing it, are they going to be able to pick up and follow through? Well, and again, if not, if they're afraid of it.
Yeah, I mean, some have.
Sure, of course.
Some have.
Yeah.
But there's also a huge gap between when you qualify for assistance and when you can actually afford, like, rent here.
Yeah.
Yeah, rent's an issue.
Yeah, affordable housing. I mean, so there's a lot of barriers.
And so okay, so we're gonna stop there for a second. Let's introduce Craig.
Yeah, Craig.
Oh, that's fine. Everybody, I mean, if you've watched any of these before, hold on a minute. I'm the big dumb guy that just says stuff. I'm no engineer, right? Which is probably a good thing because anything that I would engineer would not be sufficient.
It'd be fun.
It would be fun.
It might not be a good idea, but it'd be fun.
Yeah, it'd be fun for sure. Yeah. So hello everybody. I'm excited for this one.
Me too.
With Denise here because I was not on the Care Portal one. And I've known same thing with Jerry. I've known Denise just since we've gotten to know her through Care Portal, which
and that was pretty motivating when Denise and I sat down and did. So if you guys haven't watched the Care Portal episode, please do that. That is Denise also. This was Denise pre for youth, but I think you'll enjoy it. I found it very inspiring to be able to sit in here and talk about that with you, and knowing more about For Youth than probably a lot of people do. I'm going to say this is even better. I mean, Care Portal's great. If you have an opportunity to check out Care Portal,
download the app.
Download the app. Do what you can.
Look at what they're asking for.
Right,
it's fantastic.
Because it is a fantastic organization and a great way to make sure that there's no fraud, waste, and expenses that shouldn't be there. I mean, it really.
Oh yeah.
What goes in goes to the right people.
Because it's like 100%, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Goes to the family.
Yeah. It's truly that. That's my biggest frustration in a lot of charities is when you look at the real numbers and you see what percentage actually makes it to who you're trying to help, and that's frustrating, And the guys in big houses counting the bills, But Care Portal was awesome that way, and I'm with you now, not just being part of it, but this being your project. Yeah. I mean, I've got all the confidence in the world in it. I'm so excited for this. Yeah. I'm so excited for this.
So let's talk about For Youth. I mean, so it went from Care Portal because you were helping families with different obstacles in life with whatever came up. But then the For Youth thing came up, like you said, with the generational kind of.
Care Portal also introduced me to the world of addiction.
Yeah.
One of the social workers that we tried to help someone that was homeless, and I mean, it was around that time.
That's a great story, by the way, if you have a chance to talk with Denise about it.
Don't have someone homeless live with you more than 7 days. But it was a social worker I reached out to when this person we were helping her, and she introduced me to Coffee Connections here in town. It's every Friday at the courthouse. And I didn't know what it was.
Oh, I've never heard of this.
I haven't either.
I didn't know what it was. She's like, I just really think you'll like it. And it's like, okay.
Really in.
Yeah.
And I loved it, but I still wasn't sure. I was like, and I used the phrase, I was like being gently led to where you do not know. So I felt like I should be there. But I wasn't really, and I enjoyed it, but I wasn't sure what God was up to, kind of thing.
Sure.
The purpose of Coffee Connections is to reduce the stigma of people in recovery, mostly. I mean, it's related to addiction because they're recovering from addiction. But it's people in long-term recovery. Well, some have been there just at any point in your recovery. And then there's social workers, CPS, Child Protective Services, parole officers, people like me.
So is it people in recovery in addition to all these people you just CPS and all that? Okay,
It's about get everybody in the room and just talk about stuff to get to know each other. They call us normies. So if you haven't been an addict, we're a normie.
Oh.
But they like normies that come to the meetings because, we're there.
Sure.
Because there's a lot of people don't understand addiction.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have chose to go there. I was, it was but the folks in recovery are so self-aware and compassionate and caring, and they take full responsibility. You even hint at some blame. No, this is totally this was me. This was my fault.
That's an interesting perspective, because we talked a little bit before the podcast started. Again, I come from a family of addiction, and what you just said there,
does it match?
100% matches, and why it matches is because. So my brother was a drug addict, and again, he's been sober for a long time now. So thankful for that. But when he was in the throes of addiction, I didn't get it. I just couldn't understand it. And we, and our relationship was fractured because of it, which it's better today. Yes. But for many, many years, and I just, I would have this conversation with my wife and with my mom, who my mom was also an alcoholic, who again has been sober for 40 some years now, but it just I just didn't get it. I'm like, I don't understand how you can do this every day. And one day he finally said to me, he says, Craig, I can't explain it to you. This is how but I'll try. He said, I don't remember what his drug of choice was, doesn't matter. When he would get high, essentially, he's like, all my problems would disappear. And he goes, they don't go away, but they disappeared for a little while. Right. And it took me, that really kind of took me took me back a little bit to say, okay, I can kind of start to understand that, and then as he got sober and all that kind of things, we've had obviously more conversations about it. So it's people don't, you're 100% correct. When people don't, if you're not an addict, and you don't deal with it, or you haven't dealt with it, people don't get it. Oh, just stop.
Right.
It's kind of the thing to say.
Yeah. Oh, and they say the wrong thing. That makes it worse.
Yeah.
I get it because I say the same thing about depression. I didn't used to get depression till I got depression.
Yeah, I'm with you in there. Yeah.
And I'm like,
no, I'm
now I get it, and I think
a little bit maybe.
I think. I don't think anyone can truly get severe, debilitating depression without going through it yourself.
Yeah.
So that's a silver lining in my experience. But I relate the addiction similarly, where your brain takes over. Just with depression, your amygdala, the fight or flight, it literally hijacks your body.
You just used a word that.
Yeah.
What?
Amygdala?
We struggle with how many letters are in IQ, so just
medulla oblongata.
Tone it down a little bit.
Yeah.
It sounds like a great place to eat pasta.
Yeah,
but that's the fat guy talking.
Is that the new warplane for the amygdala?
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
It's I think it's in the back of your brain. I'm not sure. But it's in the...
Just be confident. We'll believe you.
Yeah, you could have said it was on your shoulder. We're like, oh, that makes sense. It radiates up your shoulder into your brain. Now, I guess.
So God gave us the amygdala because if we're on a train track or whatever and a train starts coming, or say a tornado, you're not going to think, oh, should I get out of the way? Your body, your brain just hijacks your body. Your emotions just fight or flight. They take over, and you do what you need to do without even thinking. Yeah. And so that's what happens with, the addiction. I think I don't know if it's the amygdala per se, but it affects your brain that you basically lose control of. That's why they.
So is that the I guess, and so for those out there, this is like the fix that they need, right? I mean, is that what, you know what I mean? Is that what they're needing? They got to get high, they got to get alcohol, they got to get whatever. So it's not, is it somewhat of like not of a conscious choice? It's like that's just you got to do it.
Like I said, I haven't ever. I did drugs, but I never were addicted because I'm old, and back then they weren't that bad. But what I hear people say is that when they're in the depth of addiction, the only thing they think about is that next high.
Yeah,
that's the only thing they can. Like their brain doesn't go anywhere else.
Yeah.
And then I was talking to someone that was addicted to fentanyl, and she didn't understand how this could happen until she was there. But she's like, I totally get how I can say one thing 1 minute, totally mean it, 5 seconds later say another thing and that's opposite and totally mean that too.
Wow.
Yeah,
like it just messes with their brain.
Yeah.
And it's such it's satanic. It's like evil. And I don't know if your everyone I met in addiction are just in love with Jesus. Because they really just, the power of Jesus is what pulls, and them giving themselves to that power is what.
Yeah, my brother hasn't found that portion yet.
Mm-hmm.
But he and again, I don't know if my brother will ever listen to this. If he does, I guess he'll be mad at me. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. I don't know. But his thing was he went to prison. Oh. So, and he said after that, and that was like, that was a long time ago. He was in prison, but when he got out, I think he was in for 3 years, and he's like, I'm not going back. Yeah. So that was kind of his.
That was his.
That was his. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was his
happen.
deal.
I haven't met anyone yet, but I guess.
Yeah. So. Anyway.
They'll talk about the higher power too.
Yeah.
But.
So For Youth. So let's talk about what actually For Youth does for this population.
Where did it start?
Yeah.
Where did it start? I love this story.
So, I'm sitting in Coffee Connections, and I don't know if I had this thought the very first meeting, but certainly the second time I went back, and there was a gap between the first time and the second. But anyways, they're talking like the first topic was grit. There's always just like a topic.
Sure.
So the first time was grit. The last time I was there was boundaries. And you're just hearing these awesome people wanting to turn their life, like they want to turn their life around. But a lot of them have felonies.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them ended up in the system.
Yeah.
And
which is, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt, but I remember too, my brother and my mom would say, and she didn't believe it until it happened to my brother, essentially, which was, once you're in, it's real hard to get out of the system, right?
Yes.
Cops, listen,
you're a target now.
Yeah, and I'm a full supporter of police and all that, but my brother would be like, he'd be driving, they just pull him over because they knew it was him, whether he was sober or not. Even after he was out sober, they just pull him over.
And I'm with you. All right, I have nothing but respect for the people that are doing the job that I don't want to do, which is police. Yeah. I mean, I have no interest in that job. But man, am I glad there's people that do.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely. But when I hear people saying, well, that's profiling. Yeah. I mean, if I were a cop, if I were a policeman, if I were a detective, absolutely. Well, I mean, that's how you would solve crimes. I mean, let's face it. When you see a crime and you see the details of that crime, the first thing you think of, let's find the most expensive house in town. Let's talk to the doctor that lives there because I bet he's got a clue to why this guy robbed a liquor store. Really? The guy that buys $400 bottles of bourbon, you think he might have knocked over the liquor store? It's like, let's probably not start there. Let's just use our head, and you go where the crime leads you. Yeah. And is that profiling? Sure, I would call that good police work. I mean, now to threaten people or just to be demeaning to people because they fit a stereotype, that's not profiling. I mean, that's being an idiot, being a racist, being whatever, right? Whatever. But I'm saying, the profiling part. It's like, okay, I don't know that profiling is the problem. If you're a drug addict, if you're, the neighborhood you live in, whatever.
So it kind of extends behind. I've never thought of it this way, but the profiling is that it's really hard to get a place to rent if you have a felony. Yeah. And sometimes
even
getting a job.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
So they're trying to turn their life around, but the people won't rent to them. People can't get a job, and there's that gap because they don't necessarily want to go and get county assistance. They want to
Right. They want to do
move
it on
on
their
with their life, and it's really tough.
That's another interesting fact.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, I mean, that's the epitome of like, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, right? Like, I don't want help. I want to do it myself.
Yeah.
I had a building in Grand Meadow, and my second oldest bought it. I was going to buy it. He wanted to do something. He bought it, and he had 2 apartments in it. He was having a hard time renting out. That he lived in one and rented one. When he moved out, he had a hard time renting that apartment. So this young gal came in, and she had a past. You know, she was in the system, and he's like, no. And it sat for another couple of weeks. She comes back, and he's like, no. And he asked me, he goes, she's got the deposit. You know, I mean, she's trying to put herself back together. I'm like, okay, again, being on the other side of that fence, it's like, that's a tough decision. And so he's like, what do you think? And I'm like, well, I said, talk to her. If you get a good feeling, I mean, she's a human being. So, you know, so he does. He talks to her, gets along with her, talks to her mom and her dad. They vouch for her. She moves in. She's in for 2 days. The deputy calls Michael and says, what did you do? He's like, excuse me? He says, so-and-so, who's living in the apartment, he said, you know who that is, right? And he's like, well, she's got a history. You know, she's got a record. She's got a past. And he's like, this is going to end badly. So to the profiling point, you know, she hadn't done anything wrong, but she told Michael after the lease is signed, after all, of course, you know, they literally contacted him to tell him that this is not going to end well. And it's a similar story to your roommate, you know, and it did not end well. It ended horribly, and it was a lot of damage to the apartment, expense and rent that wasn't paid, bad things happening in the apartment with a family of 4 in the apartment right next door that were, I mean, still are great people, didn't deserve to be next to her, and they were, you know, their kids have to walk down the same hall to get there. So it's
it's
hard.
Completely wrong direction that I thought it was
right. But that's right. And I'm not trying to be the negative guy, but it's like there's a reason that that profiling is there. Unfortunately,
because people get burned. Right. Not everybody's.
And so it's
turning around.
No, and so then you know it makes it hard for the people that are. That are really trying.
The bad ones ruin it for the good ones.
Right. And what's everything. And it's just, and it's one of those things where I was so proud of Michael that he took that initiative and he took the chance, and then it just ruined it for him. And so now I guarantee you. Well, yeah, right. I mean, but I guarantee you, he'll never. He'll let that sit empty. He'll let it sit empty. If you know. I mean, he sold a building now, but when he gets back into renting, he'll never rent to someone with that history again. He just won't. And it's like, it's so sad because there are good people out there trying to do better.
So, back to my story.
Yeah.
I wanted to do something to help. And I don't know. Well, maybe this idea came from another woman. I used to be her mentor, actually, at IBM. And she was going up to IBM executive rank. She moved out to New York State, where IBM headquarters is. And she was, you know, and she was like a goody two shoes, like never did anything. Unlike me growing up, she was like, they should just like, you know, I don't get it. They should just stop doing it, you know. Yeah. And she went to a church meeting, it was someone was giving a testimony. It was kind of like, you know, not like church service, but some woman was in a long-term recovery place, kind of like Minnesota Teen Challenge here.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And talking about, you know, like she got into drugs because when she was 8 years old, her cousin thought it would be fun to get her high.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Oh.
You know, so many stories like that. I mean, a lot. Where it, like, how can you blame them?
Right. These kids don't stand a chance.
No. And they just think it's normal that way.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of like my story where I grew up. I was 5 out of 6 kids. Mom and Dad got divorced. Mom works midnights, so she could be home during the day. So when she's at work, then my older siblings are just, you know, smoking pot in the house. I mean, it was like normal. Like you would seem weird not to do it.
Wow.
Are all your siblings like super smart too?
You know, interesting question. Because
I'm just wondering, like, was it the pot? I mean, did I miss that boat? I don't know, because I never did it. So
yeah, me neither.
No, there's an interesting statistic. So my oldest brother had pretty severe schizophrenia,
Okay.
And my other brother he was a little more functional, but he had bipolar 1 disorder.
Okay.
Both very smart. It's very common that in a family with mental illnesses, there'll be debilitating siblings and there'll be really smart siblings.
Okay.
There's like this, so I got the smart genes. Or I just didn't get enough of the mental illness to take me that I'm functional. So it's like a fine line. Like a lot of people with mental illnesses are very intelligent. Because my 2 brothers were, but they were the mental illness prevented them from, even finishing high school.
Yeah. Huh. Wow.
Unfortunately, okay. But yeah. So anyway, back to my IBM friend. So she goes and listens to this testimony of this woman that says how hard it is coming out of recovery. So Minnesota Teen Challenge is a great, great program.
Mm-hmm.
When you get out after a year, they're like, good luck.
Just done.
There's no support. No support. There's like recoveries happening. I mean, there are, if you're still in like getting counseling or getting, you're always going to meetings and everything.
Because you have to seek it out yourself, I mean, right? Like
it's just because what happens is they have to build a whole new life. They go into Minnesota Teen Challenge, in addiction.
Right.
Right.
All their friends, everything they know is not sober. And now they get out and they have to build a whole new life. And that's why there's so many that relapse. So my friend out in New York, still working at IBM, she starts volunteering and it's some place, it's kind of like Minnesota Teen Challenge, it's kind of a sister organization. And
there's Teen Challenge all over because my brother.
Yeah.
There's one. My brother's in Arizona. There's one down there.
Yeah.
It's all over.
Yeah. So they she taught them how to make bags like she used to make like sewing, not so much like my For Youth bag, but kind of not real, kind of a purse, I guess, but different sizes. And so she did that for a year, and she was meeting all these great women, and they would graduate out.
All addicts, right?
Yeah.
In recovery or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
They'd graduate from the program, and they'd OD. They'd relapse and OD and die. Because what happens too is that they lost their tolerance for the year that they weren't using.
Oh.
And so a lot of times, if they relapse, just one time, it can kill them.
Because they did before,
right?
They did whatever X amount, and now they did it again. Oh man, gosh, that's one avenue I never would even consider.
So
it's maybe like starting over. I mean,
yeah,
you have to tone it down.
It's so hard, and so it broke her heart. So then she left IBM and she started a social enterprise. That was the first time I heard that word, where she only hires women coming out of this long-term recovery program, and she started hers as a nonprofit, and that she teaches. They all come in, and she's got she's been doing it about 10 years now.
So a social enterprise can be a nonprofit?
Yeah.
Oh, it can.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Social enterprise. Okay. So a social enterprise is a business with a social mission.
Okay. I was going to ask you. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
It could be planting trees. It could be, the
landscaping.
Eco-friendly.
Could be like landscaping and stuff. Like you could have people do learn landscaping and all that kind of stuff.
Well, it could be. I mean, the whatever the product or service it is, it could be anything.
Right. Okay.
The distinguishing part is where's the money, where's the profit put.
Okay.
And so, there's some coffee shops that help, like they hire people that were homeless.
Okay.
So that can be a social enterprise. There's a lot of different types.
It's more about the people you're helping,
it's that
you're employing, than it is the job you're doing.
The people you're employing, and then where any profit goes. It's different than and it could be nonprofit or for profit.
Yeah.
If it's nonprofit, so in my friend's case, so it's called Unshattered.
Oh.
So Unshattered is the name of her company making the handbags. So
cool.
it's like
That's a great name.
You can be shattered, but then you're put together as a more beautiful person.
Oh. Mm-hmm. That's very nice.
Like the Japanese bowls with the gold.
Yes.
I don't even know what they're called,
yes.
but yes.
So that's every purse has a gold.
Japanese would take a porcelain bowl, they'll break it, and they put it back together and they fill the cracks with gold. And it makes them, they're just beautiful. Yeah. They're like artwork, but it's back to a bowl again, and it was broken once, but now it's back together, and it's really symbolic, and it's
Never
Don't
knew.
judge me. Just
I'm not.
Yeah. I
I'm
only
like,
heard
where
about it
the
from
hell did that
Kelly.
come from? How do you? But whatever. I mean, I didn't even know it was a thing.
That's
Yeah.
what it reminds me of.
All
I
right.
guess that's
So
very cool.
when I was starting this idea of the 4 Youth, Kelly is her name, the owner. She invited Craig and I to. She had some Southwest Airlines. So she's a nonprofit. So she has she has to have a whole board of directors because that's the one thing about
sure.
nonprofit, right? Nobody owns it.
Right.
Oh, sure.
Right.
So yeah, board of directors. But she's been to the White House for a opioid kind of
How long has she been doing this?
10 years.
Wow.
She was on the Kelly Clarkson show.
Oh wow.
She was so Southwest Airlines when they every so often they refresh the seats, the fabric on the seats. She gets all of their old fabric. They wash it and everything, and then they give it to her. So all the material she uses is would have ended up in the landfill.
Okay.
So that's kind of part of being a social
Sure,
enterprise
yep.
too, even if you're just
And she's making these bags and stuff.
yeah. And it's all so she's taught the women to make the bags, and so we went and spent a whole day there because I was also just curious because it's like she's building their skills, their life skills, and there's trauma counseling. She gets it's actually someone up in Minneapolis that does telehealth individually and as a group to work because there's still a lot of trauma because people like your brother and he is similar where the initial problem isn't the drugs. They go
Yeah.
to drugs because there's some other thing going on
Yeah,
in their
for sure.
life. They're just trying to escape.
Sure, he was.
But then the
I
drugs.
was his brother. That'd be good.
So-
By
I didn't want to say it out loud.
and then the drug becomes a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. And so she was, she was the one that gave me that idea of a social enterprise. So my thought was, I could hire, and I had met some artists. Well, that's another interesting. So I had met in Care Portal. Sometimes when we would do deliveries, I would see moms with these really, they were just doodling, but very
Right.
artistic. And I couldn't remember who they were, but and I remember I sat down with Jerry. We're figuring out a logo. He helped me with my 4 Youth logo because I can't even remember the first name I had. And
don't
Jerry's
either.
like,
I remember. I don't remember what it was, but I know you didn't like it.
Yeah. Guilty.
I'm very
Guilty.
much thankful for your honesty because 4 Youth is perfect. I
It
can't
is.
believe no
I
one else
love
has
it.
it.
Yeah.
Except
was-
for someone owns 4youth.com and wants $10,000 for it. That's probably why no one else has 4 Youth.
We just paid almost $2,000 for
Yeah.
Braggins.com because we thought it was a great name and we wanted it for the other bit for SBR group when you're a member. So when we want to brag
Yeah.
about our members,
Yes.
that's going to be our consumer page, and so that we'll be debuting that somewhere. I'm hoping here in 25 we
Yeah.
can get that together and in 2025 and debut that. But yeah, we just paid $2,000 for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, people find it and then they want something.
So I went
but
with 4youth.life because it's really about life.
that's
And
awesome.
I have a shop too, .shop.
I just want you to know, as such a sweet person that you are, and I respect you so much. To tell you that I didn't like your first idea was so hard. I'm not
That
kidding.
was good though.
It-
I
it's-
want feedback.
I know you kept saying that, and that's what convinced me. But it's like I did
Yeah.
not want to say. I don't see
No,
it.
it's
I
good.
so I'm so glad that it worked out. I'm so glad
yeah.
that you came up with 4 Youth because it's awesome, and it just. But I remember, I don't remember what the name was, but I remember not liking it. And I thought
I don't even know how to spell it.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
I don't even know how to tell her this.
Yeah.
you
You
know?
told me the story.
Yeah, I did. I
met
felt
for
so-
lunch and
I
it's
did. I
like,
felt so bad.
I didn't like it.
Yeah, I just but
That was great.
and for me, it's a business thing. So not liking
Yeah,
it was not a big deal. Telling you I didn't like it, that's where I struggled because I don't. That doesn't bother me. It's
Yeah.
like not that it's like don't spare the rod.
But I
you
was,
know?
to be fair, I was asking for your opinion.
You were, and it's but you still have to wrap your head around that when you're going to say something you just know. Well, I felt wasn't going to be
Yeah.
received well. It's like
Yeah.
it's one of those things going.
Jerry's
I don't
kind of
know,
a dream
you know.
crusher.
Did
really.
I take it well?
You did very
Yeah,
well, but
okay.
I didn't want to be the one to go.
He said it really nicely. So coming up with a name, and then okay, you make T-shirts, got an artist, got everything. Okay, now I just have to find an artist to, put artwork.
Yeah.
Because somebody made this. That's on your shirt, right?
Well, so the logo actually came from. We tried We tried different, routes, but it ended up me and my grandson made it
Yeah.
Oh, really?
with Canva.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I decided I was getting frustrated. Say, Roman, come over and help me.
Okay.
That's great.
So I figured if he liked it, it would be good.
Right. Because I've seen some of the stuff on your website, on the For Youth website. Some of the artwork that some of the people have made, like the eyeball one.
That is my favorite.
I love that, and I want to buy a shirt so bad, but in my head I'm like, where am I going to wear that? Like, because it's I would rather. Do you make, or would they make? Can I get a print of it? Like put it on a wall? Can I put it on a wall?
Ooh.
I could probably arrange that.
Because that's how I would want it, right?
Yeah.
Like I would love to like hang it up. So like,
Yeah.
Well, the way that you make the shirt, when you pick up like a canvas, like a frame, like a wood wrapped canvas,
Yeah.
that same process that we worked on and showed you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that works for
yeah.
canvas. So you can you can DTF transfer that. So, yes.
So when I'm looking for artwork, I decided I went on Facebook and recovery is happening. I knew recovery is happening. Are you familiar with that?
I am. Yep.
That they're the ones that organized the Coffee Connections.
Okay.
So I just went out on their Facebook page, and the guy that did the eye had just posted it.
Yeah.
And
That's
I
where that
saw
came
it.
from.
Yeah. And I'm
That's
like,
awesome.
that's exactly what kind of artwork I want. So I emailed him. It turns out he's on staff there. And
he's a recovery,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. I mean, so like, again.
well, actually, first I Googled him.
Okay.
I learned to do that. Well, that was more for my Fry Designs. I'd Google people to see, like, how old are they or whatever. Well, it turns out these stories, because in his addiction, he had gotten arrested for drugs. He got arrested for stealing a bike. But then there was another story about how he was homeless, but he had, he was clean, and it was like he was turning his life around. And now he's a peer recovery specialist at Recovery's Happening. So I emailed him, and he was, he goes, we get so many emails, but yours was cool. He was very excited about it, and then he hooked me up. There, Ethel's another artist. She cranks out art because
Who did the girl?
Yeah,
Ethel.
that's a good one too.
Oh, that's Ethel.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
I thought I heard that name.
Yeah,
'Cause that might be my favorite. Even the eye is very cool, but the girl is
the
Yeah.
two girls.
it's
It's
cool.
a mother and daughter, right? The
So it ended up looking like her two daughters.
okay.
She started, and she paints what she feels. That's her art. That's her recovery therapy. That's the healthy habit. And she was going to go down a different route. And when she was painting it, she all of a sudden thought of her two girls. And so she put them in the picture.
Okay. Well,
It's
yeah,
just-
I've seen that one too. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean,
it's
Yeah.
like-
and people can see these at the number 4
Yes.
in youth youth.life.
Well,
Yeah.
dot shop right now.
Dot
I
shop.
might convert them, but for right now, if you
Okay.
go to dot shop,
And go
Okay.
out there and look at this stuff, everybody. Like, and again, like when I say the eye, it's one of the cool. Like I don't want to like it, but I like it because
Yeah,
like
right,
it's you
right.
look at it like, man, this guy or this artist, you get
Yeah.
right to come from his brain. You said it's a him, right? What you
there's
say?
a guy, yeah.
Yeah.
Tyler.
Tyler, to come from his brain, right? Probably in some dark places at some point in time, but it's amazing
What that produces.
what
mean,
he created on it.
Yeah.
What I was amazed at is it looks like it's crying,
Right.
Right.
but that you see hope.
Right.
And I'm like, how do you do that?
I
Yeah.
saw that one and I'm like, I said, I immediately wanted it, but I'm like, where am I going to wear that? Like,
My grandson, he has two of them.
Yeah.
And he wears it to church.
Okay. Well, if he can pull it off, I can pull it off.
Yep.
I mean, because I thought I'd love to have I could wear it. This sounds horrible. Like I could wear it like as a workout shirt, but I'm like, but is that like that's like doing the guy to start like, oh, I'll just buy a shirt to work out in. But at the same time, like, I think it would draw
Hey.
people would ask me.
Right.
I think
Well, yeah.
people would ask me about that because it is.
Well,
it is
I
a
have
stunning piece of
had
artwork.
that shirt. because someone was very kind and I was given one of those hoodies, and it was about 65 pounds ago, unfortunately. So it was the size I was wearing at the time, so I did get to wear it twice.
Right.
But now my sister-in-law wears it proudly.
Oh, good.
And it's funny because she picked it out of. I mean, I gave them probably 45 hoodies, and that just don't fit anymore. And out of all that, she's like, "Man, you have got some cool hoodies." And then I get a text about the eye. Out of all the stuff I've spent money on over the years, the one that she picked out was the eye. And I thought, so
I made a decision. I'm buying a hoodie.
Yeah, it's so cool. It is. It's so cool. But I love your idea that if I was going to hang it on the wall, it would be between the eye and the girls. You know that. But we've got a big house. We could. I mean, I love that idea. That might be something to think about.
Yeah.
Because that the transfers that we use. That would go on.
I just think it would I like the eye and I mean, I've seen the one of the girls too, which is very.
It's a unique style. That's the thing that gets me. At first, you don't even really see the girls. I mean, in my opinion, when you look at it, it's just like every artist tends to have their style.
Sure.
And that one is just so unique. And then you look at the girls, and it's just, and the girls, when you see them, it doesn't look like an afterthought. In the artwork. I mean, it doesn't.
No.
And when you say it is, that surprised me because I'm like, to me, it's like the girls are there and then you built this around the girls. Not that you built it and then it's like, I'm going to put my girls in it. That totally blows my mind when you said that. I just been sitting there thinking about that going, I didn't, and not like I'm some art connoisseur. I could get the same feeling out of a stick of butter. I mean, let's be honest. I'm just not cultivated enough to appreciate it the right way. But that I really had an opinion that was the girls were the focal point, and then everything was built around it. But like I said, when I first looked at it, you don't even hardly notice the girls. You notice the whole thing, and then the girls are there, and it's just a beautiful print. It really is a beautiful piece of artwork. Yeah. But to say that they were an afterthought, that is how I viewed it, I guess. But it didn't in my brain. It just didn't register. I'm thinking this is all about the girls, and. Yeah, I love it. So I would do.
I have a bunch more artwork in the process.
Awesome.
Okay, nice.
So there's
How many artists do you currently? Are you just? I mean, are you constantly? Are you continuing to seek them
Ethel
out?
also leads Coffee Connections, so she has a lot of connections, and she teaches. So on Friday, I think it's like 11 till 2 every Friday. You can go and paint at Recovery is Happening.
Oh.
And so she kind of leads that.
Okay.
So she keeps sending artists my way. And actually I found one through another. So I have...
So we can go meet these people.
Oh, yeah.
That are doing
They're
this
all
art.
local.
And that would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean...
That would be...
Another podcast idea was to have them... I would love to have them come here and talk about their story. But if they'd be... I mean, I'm not sure if they'd be interested in doing that. But
yeah, I don't...
yes.
I would say I wouldn't want to push that.
No.
I would love it.
And I don't know.
So I'll get ahead of myself, but actually part of what I'm doing with For Youth is because they all want to help. They all want to give back. They want to help prevent youth from going, learn from me. This is
so
not
this is going into your next venture here, right?
Well, it's all related because it's all about connections.
So we're coming over and building a podcast studio?
Oh, well, I wasn't. In addition to the podcast idea, everything is so connected. So I had this idea of donating some of the apparel to get the word out. I donated some to the Boys and Girls Club silent auction for their big chair affair, and I did some at RCLS too. They just had their blue and white night. And so when I typed up information about the artists and what For Youth was all about.
Yeah, we talked about that. That's
and
a great idea.
When I dropped the stuff off, they're like, we want to talk to you more about this. And I met with they call her Mama Rhonda at Boys and Girls Club. She's been there like 25 years, and she works with all the teens now. And some of the teens there, they live with addiction in their homes.
Sure,
so they're,
sure.
But I said, I have these people in long-term recovery. They want to be mentors. They want to give back. So we're working on a program where it's not just coming in and giving their testimony and then saying good luck. It's
right.
It's coming back on a regular basis to also just sit with them, to do art with them, So that gives the teens, like they're going to believe someone that's gone through it more
Right.
than
For sure.
a parent that hasn't. So that's exciting. So some of the people I've met at Recovery's Happening will be involved, and then I mentioned it. Doc's Recovery House is another place in town,
I haven't heard of that.
and there'll be some folks in recovery from at Doc's that will also participate in it. So that's kind of in the works. I'm meeting with tomorrow. I'm actually meeting with Boys and Girls Club again to kind of more define that.
So let's not. I mean, this is so interesting, but we could spend
I know.
hours on
Right.
this. I mean, let's get back to For Youth.
Yes.
Let's chat a little bit about. I mean, we know that you sell shirts, right? We get the art from recovering addicts. You're helping people that way. What do you do with the shirts? How do you? I mean, what's the next step? Once we've got the artwork, we've got the shirts made. Now what do we do? What is For Youth going to do with it?
So initially, the idea with the shirts is that artists earn a royalty. So when you buy that sweatshirt, the artist will get a percent,
Yep.
dollar amount related to the sale. And then eventually I wanted to be able to hire, if it takes off, then I can hire people living in recovery to make the shirts. So that was the whole
sure.
idea. That's part of the
Okay.
social enterprise. I'm just, no one's going to hire you. You're the only people I'm going to hire,
Okay.
Right.
kind of thing. And the shirts, and you might have noticed, and I have, this might change. I've lowered it a little, but initially I had $50 from every shirt is going to go toward youth mentoring. So I always had this youth mentoring idea too, because it's like I'm trying to help the people coming out of recovery that need help, because there's not a lot of resources, as well as on the front end going in, because right now, until you're diagnosed with a substance use disorder, there's no help for you. So by the time all the help that's out there, great, and Olmsted County is one of the best in the country for recovery and treatment programs, but you need a diagnosis of having a substance use disorder, which by then it's too late to really
How do you
prevent
get
it.
diagnosed?
Oh, there's people that, there's an assessment from a
Really?
healthcare professional. Yeah. So in order,
So like if I'm using any sort of whatever it is.
You can tell us, Craig. We're all friends.
Okay.
if you have a concern, I know where you can
My name's
go.
Craig. And, so like you have to go to in order to get any sort of assistance, you have to go to a medical person. A
Well,
medical professional?
you can go to Recovery's Happening,
Oh,
and
okay.
they'll do an assessment.
Okay.
But it's a professional assessment.
Sure.
Okay, that's fair.
Like your mom can't say he has a.
Right.
I got a
okay.
note from Craig.
Yeah.
He thinks
I
I've got
was
a
thinking
problem.
like you had to set an appointment. Okay, and now I follow you. Okay.
Yeah.
So now I follow you. Gotcha.
I mean, it is an appointment. You can't just like walk in and say test me. So they'll
Sure.
set you
If
up
you're
with a professional.
6'3", you can. I mean, that guy,
I'm 6'5", but
whatever.
But in order for like insurance to cover
okay.
the treatment, you have to be assessed that say yes, this person has a substance use disorder.
Okay, I got you.
All the way until you graduate from Teen Challenge. Lots of support, lots of programs, lots of like insurance coverage or whatever. But on either end of that, there's like nothing.
Yeah.
And that's the
That's
bridge
what
you're
you're
trying to.
that's-
So
That's
I'm
where
trying to
For Youth
help
comes in.
hire the people on the backside to help prevent, turn the faucet off.
Yeah.
I use that analogy
Yeah,
of the
I like that.
overflowing, you got an overflowing sink in the bathroom. We're really good at cleaning up the mess, but no one's turning the faucet off.
Right.
Yeah, the mop gets full after a while. You got to shut the faucet off
Yeah.
eventually. I love that analogy on Tuesday. That was great.
And so the artists get royalties and then $50. So the first 3 weeks, I sold some shirts. Enough that I had $650. Plus I also did, if you got subscribed to my email, 20% of your first order could go to the nonprofit of your choice.
Okay.
And I had one person do that and picked Recovery's Happening. So they got like $40. And then I gave the $650 to Next Chapter Reentry Project has a Little Legacies program. It's all little kids that their parents have been incarcerated. They're not now, but their moms had been, incarcerated, out, going to Bible study, and then they get the little legacies that this group takes the kids while the moms are in Bible study.
Okay.
And there's mentoring, and they're just, so I donated the $650 to them. And then
So there was $650 after the artist got their royalty.
Yeah, it's
and
totally
then,
separate.
Okay.
I got the royalties, and then
Okay.
I have the donations. So I just wanted to be very clear when someone bought something, how much is, because I was getting asked, well, why is it so expensive?
Yeah.
Okay, $50. Now it's $20. So I just lowered the price and say $20. So I lowered everything $30, and then just to see if that would
Generate more.
Right. So the whole social enterprise idea is that it's not obviously, because I did it for profit, and when people ask me, why isn't this a nonprofit? Because it could be. I said, personally, myself and my skills, I'd rather put my time and effort into making a product that's worth buying,
Right.
than asking people for money.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'd rather give money away. So the whole idea too is any profit that is left over goes to nonprofit.
Yeah.
So it's like a for-profit, but really all the profit's going to nonprofit.
I mean, not to be the bad person, but I mean, are you going to be paid at all in this?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, like, because you're doing a ton of work, right?
Yeah,
So, I mean,
So
you're an incredible human and empath. Well, we've already talked about that, but like,
Agreed.
no, I'm going to get paid
okay,
too.
good. You're
So profit is after salaries and everything, and
Okay.
taxes. And,
Sure. All right. Okay.
I define that on my website, by the way.
Okay.
Good.
What profit means.
Well, and you know what? That's one thing. Don't ever apologize for making a living.
Yeah.
No, that's what,
Yeah. So that's.
But it's in comparison to, Elon Musk, right? Or
Right.
Bill Gates, or
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, some of those are great people, but it's not about building up wealth of the owners of the company.
Right. You need to be paid just for your
Right.
time and for
Right.
your effort.
And technically, I found out. So I didn't want this. I just wanted this so legit. I didn't want it flowing through my personal income.
Right.
So I did. It's an LLC, but it's taxed as a corporation.
Okay. Yeah.
So then none of it flows through my personal, because unless you do that, any donations are coming out of they'd come from me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I wanted it to come from the corporation.
Right.
And then I found out if being a corporation, you have to pay yourself.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yep. Because when you run as like a sole proprietor or a partnership, even in an LLC.
Like even in an LLC, you have to too.
Well, an
No.
LLC.
No.
But I mean,
No.
an LLC, you
So
can
S
still
corp,
be
C
a
corp.
sole proprietor or a partnership and have your LLC. To switch from an LLC to step up to an S corp is the next step. It's literally a letter sent to whatever state you're in, Minnesota here. You literally just write a letter to the Secretary of State and notify them that we're switching to an S corp. Once you start having substantial revenue or payroll, that's when you really have to go to it. You don't have to, but it's beneficial to go to an S corp at that point.
I actually did C Corp.
Yep, and then C
Because
corp
an
is
S Corp still comes through your personal income.
yes, but
Yeah.
you can run it. Yeah, I mean, but the C
Yeah.
corp, like when you look at, SBR Group is still an LLC,
Right.
where like Broadway Car Care is a C corp. But there's a considerable difference in revenue. Our payroll there is more than our revenue at SBR right now. But SBR won't last as an LLC. That will. I'm assuming we'll bump to an S corp. I would assume probably this year, and then I don't know if we'll stay S corp even at that point. We'll probably be bumped to we'll go to a C. Will be beneficial by everything going smooth middle of 26. I would assume, or 27. So but that's where the social enterprise comes in too, because that changes the rules a little bit on on taxation. I mean, like other thing.
The thing about a social enterprise from a tax perspective, and even there is a B Corp, but it's kind of, you can be, what's the word? Qualified, not qualified.
So not all social enterprises are a B Corp.
No.
Okay.
So
So I
B Corp,
misunderstood that.
And when you go to file, like create a new business, there's no B Corp selection.
Right.
It's LLC.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of a new thing still.
Right.
But I could be, what's the word? They come in and it's like a certification.
Okay.
If you want to prove that you're really doing what you say you're going to do, you can pay somebody to come in.
Of course you can.
It's kind of like an audit.
Yeah.
And then you could get like this official B Corp status. It has nothing to do with taxation though.
Oh, I thought there was tax benefits to.
I haven't found any yet.
Okay. Well, no, and this one I'm learning. I'm
yeah.
curious about this because
in fact, the thing with being a C Corp. So if all the income flowed through me like a LLC normally does, I can donate. You know, as an individual, you can donate like up to 60% of your taxable income.
Yeah.
As a C Corp, it's only 10%.
Right. It drops down a ton. So
technically, I mean, I could still donate all the profit. I just wouldn't get a tax write-off.
right.
But 10%.
Right. Which.
But
Yeah.
then there's ways. Well, I shouldn't say this publicly in case someone on the IRS is. But I'll just say that from what I understand, if I'm the sponsor of the Minnesota Teen Challenge Gala,
Okay.
because like say I would love to
For
do this-
youth, not
for
Denise.
youth.
Okay.
This is one of my goals is that I can make enough money for youth can make enough money to be the top sponsor for the Minnesota Teen Challenge.
Okay.
And because that the people that go to the Minnesota Teen Challenge Gala they understand addiction, right? They're there to support people in recovery, so they are very likely potential customers of mine.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I can say that's really a marketing expense and write that off. I wouldn't have to write it off as a donation. So there's
okay.
some,
Sure.
flexibility
well,
that
it's
way.
an actual business expense at that point. It's not
Right.
a donation. It really. I mean. Yeah.
It's both, but
it is. But
I'm doing it for marketing.
Right. But it's a marketing expense.
But I also, love the program.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're not doing it at the at a wild game. I mean,
Yeah.
you're not sponsoring a backboard at
Yeah.
the
Right.
Timberwolves game. It's
Right.
You're
I'd have to be
putting it where
along.
you're putting it where you want it to be.
Yes.
But it is still marketing, so it's still a
Yes.
legitimate advertising expense. So you can maximize your 10% of the donation,
Yeah.
and then put the rest into marketing as long as you're
Yeah.
spending it with the people you're donating to. I mean, that's not illegal. I mean, that's not a thing.
No,
to be, I
no,
mean, you know what I mean?
I
Yes,
know.
but it,
Just how much you stretch that.
well, it is. I mean,
But-
the laws are there, and you have to follow the law.
Yeah.
But when the laws are written, you got to find
Laws.
ways to. Well, I mean, but you do have to.
They're
There's
there
always
to
ways
work with.
Right. And let's face it, the people writing our laws, they're the biggest criminals we have in the country. So if you just follow their lead, you're not going. I mean, you
They're
just
re-
yeah.
There really should be tax benefits for social enterprises.
There should be. Well, that's why I
There
assume.
really should be.
Yeah,
And maybe
because-
that.
And there's really not at this point?
I have
Okay.
not. I have not.
See, I was under a misunderstanding. I thought there was because we were talking like hiring of people that
Yeah.
it benefits them. You were also talking about like if you're making a shirt, you buy a Gildan and it's made in Singapore or whatever.
Yeah.
But then you find these
That's another
environmentally
part of
friendly.
my for youth is really. I couldn't see buying shirts that we know are made by slaves
Yeah,
Right.
when I'm trying to help kids here.
Yeah.
yeah. You don't want to ruin
So
one to help another.
Care Portal actually has a sister company that makes clothing like blanks I could do, and they do screening, and they're not made by slaves, like guaranteed, end to end. That supply chain, they're very
What
transparent.
was the name of that?
GoX.
GoX. I say I knew it was Go.
So
something.
what?
Yep.
Right. So you pay $8 versus $3 or $5.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
it's part of the whole ethical. I mean, that's part of being. I mean, you
Kind
could
of like
have.
manufacturing.
Kind of
Yeah.
like going to Broadway Car Care versus having your neighbor do it, right? I mean, you're way more expensive than my neighbor,
Yep.
but
But you're helping homeless mechanics. No, just
Yes.
kidding. That's-
a lot of homeless mechanics.
a lot of
out
homeless
there.
mechanics out there.
Yes.
Yes. Well, I know mechanics have
Yeah.
more money spent in tools than they do in their homes. I mean,
No, that's very
that's a legit thing at times. But no,
Okay.
it's-
Good transition.
yeah,
So, 10 weeks ago,
yes.
Yeah,
Let's
this is new. This is
introduce us to Sophie.
yes. 10 weeks ago, I got accepted into a co-starters class. It's a class for entrepreneurs. Collider is a great program here in Rochester. don't know. They might exist elsewhere. I'm not sure. For
I don't know,
entrepreneurs.
yeah. I haven't heard of anywhere else, but that I don't pay attention much.
So everyone's,
outside.
and a lot of it's a nonprofit, and they get support from,
Collider is?
yeah.
Oh,
So I
all right.
I heard this Tuesday night or last night that it started as a for-profit and then went to nonprofit. That does happen a lot,
yeah.
and I think that might happen if you're not. I mean, it's just another way to get money. If what
Right.
you know, but it's nice for us because then we can get everything they offer is free.
Sure.
Oh.
So the whole class was free, 10 weeks. And it really, and anyone from just having an idea in their head to, I mean, I started the class selling t-shirts and wanting to know how to get sales because I was, they just up and then poop.
Yeah.
And I just didn't know what to do. And so they really very structured in terms of how you really should think about a business you're starting. So the very first thing they do is, go talk to customers, which I knew I should do. But they incented me and everybody, and I won the plaque for talking with the most customers. That was
That's
the incentive.
awesome.
It was a plaque. But they did put structure around it. And so I knew there was one person that bought one of my shirts that didn't really know me that well. I mean, it turned out it was Christine London.
Oh, Lundeen. Yeah.
Lundeen. And so I sat with her because I wanted to know what made her buying decision, and that's when I found out that she was in recovery.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we talked about how people in recovery, or if you understand, no one's going to buy your shirt if they don't understand addiction, or if they've been hurt by people in addiction and have this bad taste in their mouth. So I wanted to ask potential customers, what do you know about addiction? And somehow I was also got into how do you talk to your kids about addiction?
Mm-hmm.
And I have no idea. And I over and over again, most parents have no idea how to talk to their kids about drugs. And yet they want to. And my grandsons are 8 and 10, and they live right near us, so I see them all the time. And I look at my 10-year-old. He's the one with the 2 eye shirts.
Yeah.
At the time, he had a band called the Rusty Eyeballs, so he just thought that was really cool.
That's cute.
She says they're not a band anymore. He's only 10.
Oh. No. The life on the road's tough.
Yeah, right.
And so, and so I kept. Now, there's some of the parents I talked to did, and the ones that know how to and have talked to their kids about it are our neighbor behind us used to be a juvenile parole officer, and she used to do drug court. So, she knows how to talk to people about drugs. And then the other ones were just ones that have been exposed to it, whether they used to work security and saw a lot of addicts or being in the emergency room. Or they grew up with, one of the people I talked with had, his whole family was addicts.
Okay.
So he kind of knew. And so I just thought this business idea, well, why don't I teach parents how to talk to their kids about drugs? And before that idea came to me, first I get this idea, and then I'm like, well, you got to make it interesting. You can't just give them a website because that's what everybody else does. Here's a website.
Or say, don't do drugs.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that. This is your brain on drugs.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Yeah. No, I have lots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You didn't answer any of them.
Yeah.
Other than I'm
it
hungry
was
now
a
because I saw
rhetorical-
eggs.
It was a rhetorical question.
Oh, again, Denise, come on. Megala what?
Amygdala.
Amygdala
Amygdala.
and rhetoric.
Rhetorical?
See?
Rhetorical.
It's,
A rhetorical question
Esoteric.
is one that wasn't intended to be answered.
Yeah, I do know what rhetorical means, but
I'm going to sit this one out. I'm just telling you right now.
but you can't just throw those words out there.
So anyways, I'm trying to think of, how do you, with the new technology or whatever, and I have a nephew, and he'd been posting these things on Instagram that I was just scrolling through. It's like, look, I cloned myself, or look, I can speak Portuguese. And I just was like, whatever. But then I'm like, hey. And I went back and watched them. And there's this, technology that you can put your own self in, like upload a video of yourself, even just a photograph. And
it turns you into like a AI person?
It'll move the lips. So you put your image in there, whether it's a video or a picture, and then you feed it text. You say, or you can give it your own voice too. So it could be your own voice. But whatever you say, then you can tell it what you really want it to say, and it'll change the image to like, move the lips to match the
What
words.
is this sorcery that you call a website?
That's crazy.
And so I got some time with him. It turns out he had just started his own little business called, I think it's whitespace.ai, something like that. And he's kind of really digging into this whole technology and testing out all the new stuff, ChatGPT and Perplexity and Gemini and Google stuff and
Grok.
And
That's
so
Twitter's. X's now.
Elon Musk's.
What's it called?
Grok.
Yep.
GROK.
Yeah, so it's all, and I had found this DID one, and he was using HeyGen, so there's different pieces of it, but so I set up some time with him and told him what I was doing, and then the next day, just for fun, I put this together. Is this what you're looking for? And that was Sophie.
Oh.
Like a little prototype. And you could, so we were I had 4 people test it out, just asking questions, and I had tried another one too from this DID, but it was of an older, like a farmer. He looked like a 60-year-old farmer guy.
Yeah.
So he was a little gruffer, very talkative and chatty, but it just
and
wasn't.
you could just carry on a conversation with this thing?
Yes, he'd be asking me what I wanted. What did I eat for breakfast? I said, well, I had a bagel with peanut butter and walnuts and cinnamon. Oh, that sounds really healthy.
I don't know if I like this or not. Robots are going to take over. I mean, they've made movies about this stuff, right? I mean,
it's out there.
Well, it's just in your phone.
Yeah, but until the phone turns into a transformer thing or something. Listen, you're an engineer. Like, your guys' brains think this stuff up.
Make it so.
I'd be more afraid of those like the real robot things that move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're all done by AI.
No, sad story though. And Inside Edition actually recently did a story about they have dating bots.
You?
Very similar, but the ones they showed on the
show.
The piece they didn't look like humans. They did look more cartoonish. So I'm not sure what they were using, but they were saying how people were getting like this one gal that they were interviewing was like, this is like my best friend, because there was some discussion about making him illegal or something or taking him away, but she's my best friend. She's the only one I talk to.
You? So
there is, and then
I don't know. Think if you're an elderly person, right? You don't have kids or you don't have family, and you're lonely.
Yeah.
I mean, loneliness is a.
Oh, it's terrible. But
yeah.
But I mean,
go find people.
Okay, but what if you can't? What if you don't have that capacity? What if you are
introvert?
Introvert, yeah. What if you are homebound, right? I mean, we talk to our pets like they're human, right? So
I was actually just going to say get a dog, but I mean
actually the scary part is who knows what database they were going off of. You could have a sexual conversation. It was inappropriate, like how it would talk to you.
Oh my goodness!
So I mean,
well, that's you.
That's very ew.
Like I'm thinking to myself, hey, let's talk about let's talk about the game, whatever,
they might be able to do that too.
Yeah, I didn't. I will
so
not
there's always
program him to not like LeBron James.
Yes.
Okay.
Nobody likes LeBron.
So the 4 youth ideas, it's not out. Sophie isn't connected to the internet.
Okay.
It's vetted information.
Oh.
So it was fed. It was my nephew did it, but it was like a highly referenced file of information on
on drug addiction,
how to talk about it, stuff like that.
So she pulls all this information from this file. So you can go ask Sophie a question.
You ask her a question.
And then that's crazy.
I know. I mean, she's just the front end. So behind it, there's a database. There's the text voice to text, and then the database, and then there's like the brain.
Is this operational yet or not yet?
Yeah. I mean, I have to create the prototype because he was using a free account. It timed out after like 72 hours.
Okay.
So I just signed up for a paying account so that when I recreate it, it will, it can, it's unlimited now. It will be.
And is the information, like, for instance, if you're having a conversation with Sophie, is that conversation secure? I mean, or
Yes,
that's a good question.
It's secure. It's private. It's respectful, and there's no judgment passed. I mean,
but I mean, like, I couldn't creep your page or something and get in on that conversation. I mean, it's a secure.
What about
or law
not
enforcement?
that you would, but what about you? Like, could you see somebody's conversation with Sophie? Somebody else's conversation with Sophie? Because you own Sophie, right?
Possible.
Well, I mean,
right.
Yeah, but I'm thinking like law enforcement. Is there anything like that people should be afraid of, or concerned with the information that they put in there getting out? Is that a?
I think that I would not want, and unless I had to do that, I would not want it because the technology is there. The intention is it's going to be private.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
Confidential. It's not out there on the internet. It's not like Alexa's listening to you and going to send you a pamphlet for a treatment program.
So just shut your ears.
She's right there.
Yeah. How does one access Sophie?
It'll be on my 4youth.life website.
Okay.
And if you go there now, you see a picture of Sophie, but it says check back later.
Okay.
But eventually, what I want to do is that'll be like a little talking, so you can kind of experience her.
Sure.
That sounds a little creepy.
Ew.
Interact. You can interact. With her.
Yes, there you go. Interact with her. And then.
All right. That took a turn.
That took a turn there. You guys accused me of that earlier, but that one took a turn.
And then, so the plan is to offer a 7-day free trial. And then if you like her, and you'll have other ones to pick from, so it won't necessarily be Sophie.
So you're gonna create multiple of these.
Yeah. So
what do we call? What do you call them?
Avatar.
They call
Avatar?
them
Okay.
interactive.
Right.
Sometimes they call them agents. I know. I think I want to come up with a different name. And AI does scare some people, so I don't even know if I like that. But there'll be men and women.
But if
different
this were
ages.
10 years ago, you'd be logging into a call center with people that wanted to talk.
For sure.
I mean, it'd be like little Zoom meetings, going on, and get in line to talk to a therapist or a person,
well, that's the thing. Do you know if you want to talk to a therapist, it's like 6 months to find out.
Right. That's
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, so it solves so many problems because it's not officially a professional therapist, but it's someone you could get help from in the meantime.
I think the draw to that would be, I mean, again, I my kids are older, thankfully, but as a parent, I'm sure you went through it as well. I'm sure you went through it. Again, because I come from addiction in my family, we had conversations with my kids about addiction, right?
Yeah.
About alcoholism, about drugs, and so it's not an easy conversation.
Yeah.
And to your point, how do you start? I just said it. Right. So I just, I wasn't going to sugarcoat anything, but that's not an easy thing to do.
No.
Right.
So if you
not
can have
everybody can do that.
No, not everybody can do that. But if you can have some, in this case, we'll just use Sophie as an example. You can ask her, I'd imagine, what do you think about it? Can you could you just pose it to her like, hey, this is what I'm thinking about saying. Could you tell me how do you think this will work? How do you think this will be received or whatever?
Yeah.
So I think that's great.
So do you use any of the Gemini, ChatGPT?
I do. I use. I've been using Grok a little bit. I haven't used Perplexity much. I use a lot of ChatGPT.
So it's really kind of like that. It just it has a person you're talking to instead of having to type it in. Because that's really what why I thought of that idea. Because I use Claude. And
I haven't heard
he's
that
like
one.
my best friend. Like having my business partner.
What is that?
It's like ChatGPT.
Okay. Claude?
Claude is, so I've been reading a lot of Seth Godin. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
and he calls Chat GPT rude and dumb. So he's like always pushing Claude. So I started using Claude, and it probably just depends. But Claude, yeah, he's I don't know, the way he tells you things back. It's pretty
So
professional.
look at that. I had not heard of that.
I haven't heard of that one. I've used a little
and
bit
you
of
can use it for
Perplexity.
free for a while.
Yeah,
Till
and
you,
Grok. I like Grok, but
yeah, and I haven't tried Grok.
yeah, it's now available on. You could now. It was available on Apple as an app. You can download it from the Play Store, and now it's available on Google. I just got the notice because I signed up for it like a month ago, and they're like, when it's available. So I just got it like 2 days ago on Android because Android's better. So it takes a little time, a little longer to get things to go into Android. But
So
that's for another podcast.
It's a growing vetted database, vetted by professionals, people with lived experience.
That's interesting. I want to check that out.
Yeah.
I want to. I mean, I would just. It's fascinating that you can have this, I guess person, or a avatar that can ask questions to about. And I imagine you could kind of extrapolate this out to different topics, right? Just not just drugs, right? I mean, you could talk, about divorce or about poverty. A lot of those things that you're involved in.
Well, my idea is that mental health is a big, or trauma or whatever. There's other things that you could work on with your kids without saying drugs that will help them not go down the drug path. Because a lot about our emotional resilience and regulation and
the drugs isn't the
root.
the kickoff.
It's like why do people do drugs?
Right.
And then focusing on the why with the kids. And there's other addictions like with social media and
Well, I think teaching your kids to be independent and not succumb to peer pressure. That's a big thing too. Even if it's not when you have a home that hasn't been affected by addiction. And you raise, Heather and I brought 5 kids through, and we don't, neither side, we're a blended family. Mm-hmm. Her ex, my ex, none of us had addiction problems. We had all kinds of other problems. We weren't normal by any stretch, but we had all kinds of issues. But drugs and alcohol weren't really one of them. But then it's terrifying because I don't know what to look for.
Right.
That was the thing that just terrified me was like, the kids that come home and they're acting dopey. It's like, are my kids dopey or is there something else going on?
Yeah.
Because, and it's like, and then you just, and then you kind of go to bed just laying there staring at the ceiling going, she was acting kind of weird tonight. Should I be concerned? Should I be taking her in for a blood test or a drug test or something? But those things run through your head as a parent because you're like, I don't know what that looks like. I don't have any experience in it. Yeah. My wife didn't. My Heather doesn't. Her ex-husband didn't. So it's like,
that's a big
now
one.
What do you do?
To your point, and until you're in it, right? Until you've been affected by it in some way, shape, or form, whether you lived with it, seen it, or in it yourself, it's real hard to know the signs, B, and how to approach, right? And again, like I go back to my brother. We butted heads for years. And it wasn't just a couple months. It was years because I just didn't understand.
Yeah.
And, I probably could have used Sophie.
Yeah, she wasn't around then. But.
Right.
Yeah. But as a parent, if you don't have any experience with it, how do you recognize it? And then if your kid does take the wrong path, well, it's all your fault. Bad parenting. It's like, I didn't know what I was looking for.
Yeah.
I was terrified of it. And now you want me to go talk to her about it or talk to him about it. It's like, talk about what? I'm back to the old Ronald Reagan phase. We talked about drugs are bad. It's like drugs are bad.
Just say no.
Just say no. Don't do drugs.
Your brain on drugs.
Yeah, this is your brain on drugs. It's like that's all you got.
Really,
that's all I got.
It's truly about starting conversations.
Yeah.
And not freaking out.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Right? Like not freaking out.
Because you have to create a safe space.
Yeah. I agree with that one.
And, parents are worried about creating unnecessary curiosity that wasn't there before they bring it up.
Yep. That's a thing, too.
So there's a lot of fears, but...
Unnecessary curiosity.
So if they never heard, the balance between protecting your kids' innocence, but preparing them for their
Yeah, you want to go up to your
the
kid that
dangers.
has no experience in it all and go, do you know why people do so many drugs? Do you know why people think it's awesome? Don't say that. That's
or
not,
like
I mean,
dare. These are drugs. Don't do them.
Right.
Yeah.
Now
yeah.
my personality is like
Right.
Yeah.
rules are meant to be broken.
Right. Well, and somebody's doing them and somebody likes it.
Yeah.
Maybe we,
That's the other thing is you got to talk about why people do it. Because if all you say is the bad stuff, and then their friend tells them how high they got, how great it was, it's like, well, they never told me that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have
That's
to like
fair.
tell them the whole story.
Yeah.
But to your point too, I met a woman that she had her son was addicted, and she had no idea until he got bad enough that he called her saying he needed help.
Wow. And how does it make you feel as a parent when you've missed all those signs? I mean, that's another whole issue on its own that the parent has to deal with. Because no parent's going to be like, not my fault. I mean, a good parent, you're a good human being isn't going to, that's going to bother you. That's going to be something that's going to be hard to deal with too. And it's, you've got to help yourself along the way too. It's like, how do you balance that?
Right.
So I'm trying to start a movement. So now my apparel now becomes like the conversation starter. Kind of like the Grateful Dead Club, you buy Grateful Dead t-shirts because you're a fan.
Are you a deadhead?
No, but I'm using that analogy. I actually wasn't, but there's another example Seth gave.
Unnecessary curiosity,
That,
Greg. That's what you just did right there.
Yeah.
That people will buy, not so much the logo, but the artwork. But I think I want to add like sayings. Like, I don't know what yet, but like something that sparks a conversation in addition to the artwork.
Yeah.
To talk about it.
Well, we talked about this with Design HQ when I get people that want me to do, shirts for them. Like, we put my logo, I need 50 of these shirts, or I need 20 of these shirts. It may be a better example with my logo on them. It's like, what are you going to do with them? Well, we're selling them. 20? I mean, let's be real. What are you going to do with 20 shirts? I mean, when you start looking at colors and sizes, colors of the shirt, colors of the logo, color and the sizes, 20 shirts, that buys you like 2 of each. I mean, maybe 3 of each if is the best you're going to do. It's like, why don't we come up with something that's cool? They're like, well, it's my logo. Right, but if people are going to buy your logo, not because they think it's cool, but because they want to support you, right? And for youth, that's going to be a huge part of your sales is the support that people want to give you because they love the message, they love the journey that you're going to take them on. Now, what you're doing, you're offering something cool. I mean, you and I had this conversation, and I said, if you do something cool that people would want to wear, now that's going to bring in a whole new clientele. And that doesn't mean that the people who think the shirt is cool won't understand the message and won't want to support you, but if everybody buys a shirt and supports you, you're still done in a month. I mean, we just don't know that many people. I mean, even if you know a lot of people, okay, so what, you're done in 6 months? I mean, right. So now let's approach, like when we did Black Diamond Armory. I mean, we did that logo. It's very simple, but we went through easily a couple dozen ideas, logos, and I paid for most of them. And they were nice looking logos. They represented the business. But I'm like, are people going to want to wear that? And I have logo designers going, what? And when they didn't understand the question, it's like, next, let's move on to the next guy, because it's like that's a big deal. I want people to walk in and I would love my friends to buy my stuff to support me, but not at the expense of where am I going to wear this? I don't want to wear this, and I don't mean it that way with yours, but I'm saying when it's a logo of a business.
Truth of the matter is with the eye, like when I said where am I going to wear this, because it's so striking. Yeah. It is such a striking piece of art. I'm like, I don't want to wear it to the gym because I don't think that does it justice. And if I wear it out to just, but I probably need to get over this fear. Like, what are people going to ask me? What the hell is that? And I'm like,
right, but that's what
as we sat here and talked, that's why I said I'm going to buy a hoodie, because I don't remember seeing hoodies, so I didn't know he had hoodies. I mean, maybe it was after the I looked
I had
last
some.
time.
I think that's where
Well-
you started was hoodies, and then kind of went into the t-shirts.
Well, I ran
and-
out because, like Jerry was saying, I didn't have a lot of every size. or
Yeah.
anything.
So, because when I
That's
looked,
the
it
thing
was T-shirts, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. So I am going to buy a hoodie. So I made that commitment.
But
But
I'm going to make more too. So if
Okay.
it's not out there, I'll make it one.
Okay.
What size do you wear?
I don't know. I think double X. I'm not sure.
and a
But-
tall.
No, I don't like
No?
those. No,
Really?
No, no. We already had this. We don't want to go down that road. But like, so you're totally right. People are going to ask about it, and so I just for some reason I can't, and I don't have a good answer for you, Denise. And I'm sorry. I'm like I don't know how would I explain what this thing is, right? And I mean, I could get into a big long conversation about what it is.
Oh, see, I have a good answer now, though.
Okay, what is
Just
it?
say, oh, yeah, they help parents talk with their kids about drugs.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Pique their interest. I mean, that's
That people listen.
Yeah, because
That-
I get it, and I can see that piece of art in my head right now as I'm
Yeah.
sitting
Yeah.
here talking. So I loved it as soon as I saw. I'm like, what? I mean, where?
Yeah.
But I guess
But
it
see,
doesn't
now
really matter. So
now the two girls. That.
so
that's-
that I want to hang on my wall.
Right now, see that I mean, a guy, I'm not going to wear that.
Yeah,
you know, that's
right.
just that's not.
Yeah.
But on my wall, I didn't even think of that until you said it. When you said putting the eye on the wall, I'm like, two girls, that'd be perfect. Because I mean, it's two. I wouldn't wear that as a shirt.
Right.
But the artwork is amazing, and I just love it. And as I get older, again, I've never appreciated art ever. I mean, it's just never been a thing for me, because I listen to these people. When you look at a painting, you look at something, and people start dissecting it, and I'm just like, oh my God, shoot
Yeah.
me now. I just I have no interest in. But when I saw that one,
Yeah.
I did think that way. I kept thinking about what came first, and I didn't have a conversation with anyone about it till tonight. But that's what went through my head, and I was like, oh my God, I'm old. Wow, it just happened. But it's great, and that. But yeah, I would love to. I'd love to partner up with you a little
Yeah.
bit on that and do some wall
Yeah.
art. That would be fun.
Yeah.
That would.
Because I like when it comes back to the eye, like
Yeah.
the eye would look really sweet in this room right here.
It would, and it would have to be about a 3.5 foot,
Yeah.
4 foot, like big. I mean, not shirt size, but something big, like the size of the cards
Like,
behind you.
I
Something
think
like
people
that.
would.
That
I
would be
think
cool.
people would put that in their garage, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's and I think the girls,
Yeah, the girls
would be just a place that you could put that in
in
a
a den and a living
yeah,
room.
living
Yeah,
room,
yeah.
anywhere in a house.
A library would be.
So
oh,
that's why
Yeah.
that eye though. I want that. I want to hang that in my garage.
Yeah.
Eye.
yeah, that's cool.
Maybe I'll buy two. Maybe I'll just buy 2 hoodies and just hang one up on the wall. And hoodies, right?
Scarecrow in the garage.
Yeah, right. Then people are like, what? It's okay, Craig. You been to Craig's garage lately? He's got something going on there, but yeah. So.
Well, cool. Well, we're at about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
If you guys are good, let's call it good. And I would love to revisit this as Sophie gets online.
Yes.
As you consider wall art a little bit. I'd love to chat about all this again and just see
Yeah.
how it progressed. I mean, the really cool thing about this episode is we're talking to you literally at the beginning.
Yeah,
this is the
to
foundation.
revisit this in a year will be real interesting. I think.
Yeah, because
to see where Sophie goes and where For Youth, because I mean, For Youth's been what? How long?
8 months.
Yeah.
I created the LLC just 8 months ago.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're not even a year
to
in,
get
so.
in on the ground.
I didn't have
floor-
my apparel till Thanksgiving.
Yeah, right. I
Okay, so you're-
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah.
we
that's
spent
right.
an entire day together with Craig and you and I.
11, and then it's 12. It's 4 months. It's 5,
I know,
6
I
months.
kind of do things fast.
Yeah. It's inspiring. I mean, it is inspiring. It's just, but I think to be able to have this conversation at this point in the structure of For Youth,
Yeah.
to come back and talk about this fall or next spring, I would love to do that
Yeah,
if
for
you're
sure.
up for it.
And I would, if anyone's listening in Rochester, that Collider class I took, it's called Co-Starters, because beyond talking to the customers, it went through your break-even point, your MVP, so they call it MVP, minimum viable product,
Okay.
which is also what made me think of Sophie, especially when my nephew kicked it out in the evening just for fun.
Yeah.
It's like,
for
okay,
fun.
that sounds like a really good MVP.
Yeah.
And but so worth like has a lot of value, and then it can just grow. Because the other thing is, and another Seth Godin phrase, if all we do with AI is, replace a human, it's not really going to do a lot for businesses' growth.
Right.
But if we can take that technology and connect people to resources and other people that aren't connected today, like there's no way to really connect them. And so I see that even though like the conversations are going to be totally private, in the future, I want to be able to say, oh, they're, based on what they're talking about, there's resources or another person having the same issues. Or
eventually, don't you think it would be even more beneficial so let's say you have Sophie and somebody else has Jimmy, right? Doesn't matter. That Jimmy and Sophie can compare notes of conversation, right? It's private. You always want to keep that private, but like, hey, this situation came up with Sophie, and this situation came up with Jimmy, and so now Jimmy and Sophie can talk to each other, quote unquote, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Share databases.
Share data. Yep. Yeah. Share the data, and then say, okay, well, now we have a whole new data file of cross avatar.
And
conversation. I don't know.
That is what AI is doing. So it's kind of that brain.
Yeah.
It gets smarter. It is kind of creepy, but that's how it gets smarter. By learn, and you can tell it to, it's all a learning mode. So you can. I remember I tested someone. It was before I started using Claude. I asked ChatGPT if Trump had been about an assassination attempt on Trump, and it didn't know it.
Yeah, it didn't bring it up.
No.
I did the same thing.
So maybe you told me. So then I told it that he was, and so then it knew.
Yeah.
So, but
crazy. Crazy.
But yeah.
So you would be willing to come back and do this again and tell us?
Yeah, and I could do a demo.
Absolutely. Well, and because we now have a projector and a screen.
Yeah.
That we could put it up and we can run the third camera.
That would be cool.
Yep.
We could
or maybe I'll be a little smarter by then and know how to just do it on the software, because that's a thing too. I don't know how to do it. But
well,
maybe I'll be replaced by then. Maybe it'll be AI Jerry.
Let's talk to Grok or to Perplexity and figure that out.
Yeah,
see if we can figure out how to do that.
Yeah, because we need some help with that anyway. Because we're expanding, SBR Group's expanding out of Rochester, so this podcast studio is here. As we get people in other cities, we're going to have to do some of the video chat type podcast. Bring them in. So I've got a lot of learning to do, and I'm not sure I'm up for it, but I'm gonna give it my best shot. So we might need a little AI help. But Denise, thank you so much for coming out tonight. Craig, thanks for helping out and being part of this.
This was good. I was looking forward to this one. So
yes, I was really looking forward to this. I can't wait to hear the update. With the engineer.
You're going to let me live that down, ever?
Yes, I would. I should have recorded a little bit of the pre-podcast episode and share that with you just to embarrass Craig a little bit. Well, next time I'll think a little further.
Listen to Blake Happy Garage Doors podcast, and you'll hear why she's giving me a hard time.
Yes, absolutely. Well, guys, have a great night. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the podcast.